President Trump is back at the White House after leaving Walter Reed Hospital. An Annenberg Media reporter was there with dozens of Trump supporters.
The glass fire is ravaging wine country during California's worst fire season on record. A climate science expert warns residents brace for impact.
Even though in-person campus activities are suspended, USC students can roam campus in a virtual capacity.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
After 3 days at Walter Reed Hospital, President Trump is now back at the White House. I'm Ani-Offiong reporting from Los Angeles.
And I'm Lauren Hebroni, also reporting from Los Angeles. This evening, a group of Trump supporters gathered outside the hospital to celebrate his departure. The president left Walter Reed Hospital about 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. He raised his fist before getting into an SUV. Annenberg Media's Johnny Dorsel was outside the hospital as the president took off.
So I'm out here in front of Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. The president just left here about 10 minutes ago. He flew out in a helicopter. There were, right behind me actually, there were dozens of people standing out here just a few minutes ago holding many signs, American flags, Trump 2020 signs, and most people out here had a mask on. There wasn't much social distancing going on, but for the most part, everyone had a mask. A few people didn't. And the crowd, they were just very exuberant. The feeling was a feeling of jubilation and joy. They were really excited, and they were chanting before he actually made his departure. Cars are honking their horns in support of the president. They have their flags out here, waving them proudly, as you can see behind me. And there were dozens of people out here, dozens of people. The police had this street just blocked off momentarily, while they were trying to get the crowds in order. The streets were blocked off for a while before the president actually left. And then about 5 minutes after his departure, they opened up this road again.
Earlier today, President Trump's doctor gave an update on his health at Walter Reed National Medical Center and the decision to send him home.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the president's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7.
This morning, President Trump tweeted about his experience with COVID, undermining the seriousness of the virus. His tweet said, quote, "Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. We spoke with the doctor about the serious implications of this message."
Certainly the President of the United States would have access to resources and health care that the average citizen wouldn't. I think it's very detrimental. We know I've treated many COVID patients, and I've seen patients die from COVID. And we know that it's impossible to predict who's going to get through this illness and who isn't. So I think it's unfortunate, to see cavalier behavior.
Now the president and his staff are staring the pandemic in the face. I'm Scorziell, reporting from Los Angeles. In the last few months, President Trump has moved the focus of his campaign away from the coronavirus into law and order and the economy. Political analyst Dan Schnur doesn't expect to see Trump change his message, though he's been diagnosed with COVID.
It's worth noting that any number of prominent Republicans have been trying to give him public advice and suggesting that he come across as very contrite. He's learned his lesson, and now that this is something that he needs to take much more seriously, the advice makes sense. And if he were to take that tack, it's much more likely that he would engender sympathy, especially from some undecided voters. That flies in the face of the way President has generally approached these types of matters in the past. If he does recover quickly and does return to the campaign trail in a matter of days, that certainly could be a very strong message on his behalf, the type of thing that would rally his own existing supporters to a great degree.
Meanwhile, today, Joe Biden visited the critical swing state of Florida for just the second time this year. Trump visited the state 3 times last month. Biden said he was reluctant to comment on Trump's condition. Today is the last day to register to vote in Florida. Back to you, Amanda.
Every year, the Supreme Court begins its new term on the first Monday of October. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death last month leaves just 8 Supreme Court justices. We talked to USC law professor Scott Bice about what this means for the court.
Without her vote there, and with just 8 voting, it could be that you'd get more 4-4 votes. In some cases might be put over until you got 9 justices. So there are always going to be 4 or 5 cases which are significant, and which way they come out will have a major impact.
The Senate Judiciary Committee said Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearing schedule is still set to begin on October 12th, despite a COVID spike among GOP senators.
California's wildfires have burned a record 4 million acres this year, making it California's worst fire season in history. While the bobcat fires in the Los Angeles National Forest have reached nearly 90% containment, the glass fire in Napa is only 30% contained. The glass fire has been burning for a week and has burned more than 65,000 acres. According to CAL FIRE, 36,000 people are under evacuation, and the fire currently threatens 21,000 structures. We spoke with a Stanford professor about how climate change impacts wildfires.
So global warming is continuing, climate change is continuing, risks are intensifying. We know that heat stress causes illness and unfortunately in some cases death. That's a feature of our climate already. So even if those ambitious aspirational goals in the Paris Agreement are met by the global community, we will have more global warming than we've had already. We will have more climate change than we've had already, and the risks will intensify even if the global energy system is decarbonized and the world reaches net zero emissions.
While there are no red flag warnings currently in effect, the National Weather Service warns of an elevated danger of wildfires due to the low humidity, dry conditions, and high heat.
LA Times executive editor Norman Pearlstein announced today that he is stepping down. This comes after recent judgment on the lack of diversity in the newsroom and the paper's coverage of communities of color.
Every person at the LA Times in management bears a level of responsibility for the state of affairs there. Norm's no different. Every one of those people, having had the opportunity to work with many of them over for more than a year, care about these issues and want to see meaningful change and to have their newspaper reflect the community that they cover. But clearly people have fallen short of that standard. And, you know, historically, the Times has fallen dramatically short of that standard.
Pearlstein will remain the executive editor during the search for his replacement and will then stay on as an advisor.
Regal Cinema, the second largest cinema chain in the US, is closing their 543 venues. We spoke to an entertainment business expert about whether COVID-19 means the end for movie theaters.
I doubt that we will see the complete permanent collapse immediately of cinema going. There is still a large audience for that if it can be, once it becomes safe again. But the question of how you get from here to there, and is there going to be government aid? It's very difficult. I mean, a lot of smaller cinema chains and smaller cinemas have already gone out of business.
Cineworld attributes the closure to the postponement of new movie releases. The closures of theaters begin this Thursday and will impact nearly 45,000 employees.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, many religious celebrations have gone entirely virtual. Sukkot is a Jewish holiday all about giving thanks for the autumn harvest and commemorating the 40 years Israelis spent wandering the desert after leaving slavery in Egypt. Some USC students are observing Sukkot from October 2nd to October 9th.
In Judaism, a lot of our rituals are kind of based on community and communal aspects. For services, you're not expected to pray alone. You're expected to pray with at least 10 other people in the presence to be able to say certain prayers. And you're supposed to be able to enjoy the meal with as many people. There's specific rituals about inviting guests to join you for holiday meals.
We realize that we're at the mercy of the world to some extent, and we embrace that because we believe in the idea that there's a higher purpose, there's a higher power, there's something to be grateful for, and in a way that's that opportunity to include more people. Right now, only where safely possible, but to invite more people in.
The Office of Religious Life sponsors a variety of opportunities for exploring a spiritual life as well as learning. They are offering online programs and resources to encourage spiritual well-being.
Happy Monday, everyone. I'm Rachel Grode reporting from Los Angeles. The Pac-12 has announced its season schedule, and Trojan fans, it's time to get excited. The Trojans' 6-game regular season kicks off on November 7th versus Arizona State. The rest of the games will be against the remaining Pac-12 South opponents with the exception of one crossover game against Washington State. All eyes are on Kedon Slovis as the season opener versus the Sun Devils pin Slovis against other top Pac-12 QB Jaden Daniels. Both the Trojans and the Sun Devils finished with an 8-5 record last season, making this game one that's hard to predict. SC will play the Utah Utes Week 3, and this is the game to watch. With the Trojans on the road, they aim to stray from history. The winner of this game between the two teams for the past 7 seasons has been the home team. This matchup will likely be the game that decides the winner of the Pac-12 South. The 6-game season is giving Trojan fans and foes some serious championship energy. Now let's check in with Carlo Jiménez for an update on the NFL.
Thanks, Rachel. Hi, I'm Carlo Jiménez, reporting from Campbell, California. The two Los Angeles football teams were on opposite sides of the country this week. One took a step forward, and another learned that no lead is safe. Let's catch you up on what you missed, as well as look ahead to next week's matchups. At SoFi, things were looking shaky for the Rams, leading the winless Giants by 1 in the 4th, until Jared Goff ripped one to Cooper Kupp for a 55-yard house call to put LA up 8. The Rams weren't out of the rut yet, as Daniel Jones and company were threatening before Darius Williams goes airborne for the interception to seal the deal. Rams would improve to 3-1. From LA to Tampa Bay, a matchup that featured 2 starting quarterbacks with the largest age difference since 1950. And it was the new kid on the block who was looking good to start. Herbert finds Donald Parham to put the Chargers up 21-17. But they were facing a guy who knew a little something about comebacks as Brady feeds Keyshawn Vaughn for his 5th throwing touchdown of the game to give the Buccaneers the lead late. Chargers fell to 1-3. The Chargers will travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints next Monday night, while the Rams prepare to welcome in Washington to SoFi Stadium on Sunday. That's all we have for sports. Now let's toss it to news.
It's World Teachers Day, and more than ever, teachers deserve to be celebrated. With continued online learning, many teachers are struggling with the lack of student interaction. We spoke to an elementary school teacher who looks forward to the small moments of connection.
Usually every Friday I'll play just a song, and then they just get out of your chair and dance, and just a song that you kind of, so being on a screen and you can see how everybody's reacting, and then families will get involved. So that's kind of a silver lining. Like somebody will grab their little brother or sister or their mom or their dad. And then that's been one of the highlights. So they look forward to that on Friday.
Teachers at American Martyrs teach on Zoom alone in their classrooms. Atkinson says getting to know her students' different learning styles and having one-on-one instruction time is challenging, but she's dedicated to their learning and doing what she can.
USC students are coming up with innovative ways to experience life on campus during their remote semester. A group of students created a replication of the USC campus on the video game Minecraft. The server allows users to collaborate on projects, explore campus, and even host virtual events. It's like a social network for students, alumni, and faculty to connect and feel like they're on campus once again. We spoke to one of the server's staff members about how their creation has brought the USC community together during the pandemic.
None of us knew each other, and we were just building random buildings on campus and figuring out proportions and all that. Like it's something to do, and it's something to do with people that's USC related. That's not just like being on Zoom. Anyone with a Minecraft account can join. They don't necessarily have to be from USC. They can be an alumni, they can be a faculty, they can be a student. We had a lot of people who were interested in like applying to USC come check out campus because they're like, oh, this could be a cool way to see campus if there's no, in-person tours.
That sounds awesome. Do you play Minecraft, Amanda?
Honestly, Lauren, I'm not really a video game person, but I'm definitely willing to check it out.
Sounds like a plan. We should totally check that out. Well, that wraps it up for us on this Monday. Thanks for tuning in.
From all of us at Annenberg TV News, have a good night.